Smoak here on 365 Sports. Mack Rhoades, Baylor Director of Athletics, joins us for his weekly segment. And Mack, Chari Mahajer, UCF AD, told us all that we'd be getting a schedule by today, but I haven't seen it yet. Did he jump the gun there? Is it in the offing? Like, when are we going to know what the people are dying to know? This is big news when it happens finally, Mack.
Yeah, so I love Terry. He's a great colleague, and welcome to the Big 12. But that doesn't begin until July 1 of 2023. And I think the more accurate statement would have been Commissioner Yormark's statement while he was out in LA for the championship game, and talked about the end of January. And so I think that is the timeline. I can't remember if we talked about it last week, but I do know that last week I felt like it was end of January and not specifically this date. And so we'll get there and look forward to like all of our fans, we're looking forward to getting that released. And we don't, just so everybody knows, we don't have it in front of us. And so even if you wanted to ask me a question, I probably, couldn't answer it. It'd be off of maybe distant memory, but the process is we'll get it and have a day or two to look at it and make sure that we're aligned with all of our scheduling principles. And then the conference office will release it. And again, by end of January.
So end of January for the Big 12 schedule. So that gives us a couple of weeks here of maneuverability. Mack, when it comes to the scheduling itself, do teams have any type of input whatsoever, especially given the unique situation that you guys are in, the coming and going of teams over this next year? How does that work in terms of, I'm sure there's teams that would like to play a certain institution or at a certain place at one point, but do you take that feedback? Where do you how does that work?
Yeah, Craig, it's a great question. And so, a while ago, and it's probably, been at least a year, there was a subcommittee that really looked at, the future of football scheduling and, one division, versus two divisions and, scheduling principles, et cetera. And so I was on that subcommittee, and, I think it, if memory serves me correctly, sometime in May or June, spring, summer meetings, we presented that to the entire group of ADs, and, we made the decision obviously on the one division. And, part of that was, what we think is going to happen with the CFP, et cetera, what some of the other conferences were doing. If you remember right, we had the deregulation, where, the Football Oversight Committee said you don't have to have divisions now to play a conference championship game. And so that was all part of it. And then to answer your question specifically, there were discussions about, making sure we kept certain rivalries and that those continue to be played throughout. There were then, conversations on the scheduling principles, and that's where a lot of the input, as we presented them, the subcommittee, the larger group had an opportunity to weigh in, and so the feedback was mainly about, the rivalries and the principles. And so you take all of that and you formulate this a logarithm for the computer, and then it spits it out. And so we'll wait to get that and see what that looks like. And so this idea of fairness, trying to be competitive in the I guess the strength of schedule, right? How can that be, fair throughout? We certainly, that's part of the formula that you put into the computer. You know, it looks at the last 5 years. But I think the biggest piece in terms of, you know, fairness will be the sequencing of it. You know, when do you play and certain people and what does that look like, you know, home and away. So that's a long answer, but that's really been the process on leading up to end of January.
Do you get like a zonk or something if the machine spits something out and it's kind of made a schedule that's not, you know, great? Can you say like, hey, can we take another pass at this because we don't want to be in, you know, Morgantown and then in Provo 1 week, you know, back-to-back weeks? It's going to happen, I know, but like if you had to navigate that, do you get any of those things, or does it just kind of you have to deal with it as it comes out?
No, you'll spit out some you know, for example, you'll spit out an iteration, right? You'll double check it against your principles to make sure that it stays true, and you'll get, you know, quite a few varieties of options, and, you know, human eyes then really take a look at it. You know, believe it or not, there is a person, you know, in this space that has a computer formula that does this, has worked with, you know, certainly the Big Ten, has worked with other conferences, is working with our conference. And so, you know, there is a singular person that makes a living doing this. And it's been pretty effective. And we'll see what the final looks like. But, you know, there's principles like, you know, when you think about, you know, 3 of the members we added, you know, Cincinnati, Central Florida, and BYU, those are long trips. They're, you know, similar to West Virginia. So, you know, can't go play those, you know, one of those 4 back-to-back on the road. That shouldn't happen. And if for some reason the computer spits that out, well, we're putting an X on that one and starting again.
So, Mack,